Welcome to another episode of the SportsBros podcast, featuring the Almighty B-Live, the Money Man Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative, Eddy Cool. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the SportsBros. Hey, what's going on, world? This be your boy, Eddy Cool, a.k.a. the HOC at your favorite podcast, sports podcast, that is. None other than the SportsBros podcast. And guess what? This is the last episode of the double-digit 90s. Episode number 99. The Wayne Gretzky of the episode. That's right, 99. Of course, you know, through these previous 98 episodes, I could not do this by myself. I mean, I could listen to myself talk, but I'll get tired of it. So with that being said, I'm about to introduce you to two of the best co-hosts in the world. Introducing the Almighty B-Live.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? This be your boy, the Almighty B-Live. The better part of the two co-hosts that he was talking about. You know what? I'm not even going to pick on Scottie D right now. He is going through a lot, and he will explain to you shortly in this podcast. And you can go ahead and introduce the other guy. He is.
All right, and the other guy, the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania, the Money Man, Scottie D.
The great episode. That's this one, the great one, 99. And what's next? 100, baby. Next week, 100. That's hard to believe. But guys, there is a dark cloud hanging over this episode. And you know why. The breaking news we got just before we started recording, if you're listening to us on Tuesday or catching us later in the week, go back to what happened Monday evening.
I don't know if so you see this big smile? It's because the dark cloud isn't over me at all. But you know, we'll get into it. Eddy Cool, go ahead, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Lead us off, sir.
All right, and speaking of that ominous dark cloud that the Money Man Scottie D is talking about, breaking news before we went on air. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott, guess what? They agreed to a contract. Yes, not no franchise tag like everybody else thought he was going to get. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys agreed to a deal up to 4 years worth $160 million, $126 million guaranteed up front. Give me mine, give me my piece, my parts, and everything. Not now, but right now. So for the time being, Dallas seems to have found their quarterback, or have they? Scottie D, this is your team. What's your thoughts on this?
They are giving Super Bowl winning money to a quarterback who has a single playoff win, who's really coasting still on the laurels of his rookie season, in which he was 13-3. Last we saw him, his bone was hanging out of his ankle, so we don't even know if how he's going to respond to that. They say he's good, but I mean, no drills, no contact, anything like that yet. This is a guy who, when he was carted off the field, his team was 1-3. A year ago, or the previous season, 2019, the team folded like a cheap suit down the stretch, did not make the playoffs. 4 games that season, he didn't throw a touchdown pass. In his last 23 games against, he's had like 5 wins against winning teams and like a whole bunch of losses against winning teams. Jera, what are you doing? Jera, this is how you negotiate? You could have given this dude a lot less 2 years ago. You played hardball, and you're giving him the biggest guarantee ever, $126 million guaranteed, and a no trade clause just for fun. Jera, say it ain't so. This has to be a bad dream.
Has to be a bad dream. Be like, where you at on this whole Dak Prescott situation here?
I absolutely breathe, Scottie D. Breathe. It's okay. And I'm going to tell you why.
No, it's not.
Will you let me tell you why it is okay? Because either way you put it, Dak Prescott makes you a much better team than any other quarterback, any option that's out there right now.
Yeah.
This period, point blank, Dak Prescott is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now. Healthy, and there's a reason why he got paid this money. Slow your roll. I know you're ready to attack.
Top 5?
Sickaboo, sit, good dog.
Top 5?
Let me tell you why. Not only has he led almost every statistical category when he's in the game, wins above replacement, all those factors in, but there are physicians and doctors that get paid a lot of good money to make sure
Brady.
You know what? I get how passionate you are about it, but you're gonna hear me out. Brady is not top 5. No, let's stop it right there. He's not top 5. Yes, he won the Super Bowl, but when you're talking about the future of your franchise and overall talent, no, Brady isn't. I put Dak Prescott up there. I put him up there
above Tom Brady.
Yes,
he's a better quarterback than Tom Brady. Dak Prescott.
Wow.
Please tell me you are joking on this day when you tell me that Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Not only are we talking about contract signings, we're not talking about just right now. We're talking about future. We're talking about upside, not what have you done 20 years and et cetera, et cetera. Yes, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Would you pay him 4 years, $160 million right now, Tom Brady? No, you wouldn't. Oh my God. Now you're just talking with emotions. I'm trying to be unbiased with this. You've got to be kidding me. Take your emotions out of it as a fan. Take your emotions out of it and look at this realistically.
I am. I'm looking at the guy's best season was his rookie season when that offensive line was unstoppable and he was running play action passes off of Ezekiel Elliott. And since then, what has happened?
Well,
Nothing.
Yeah, and that falls solely on Dak Prescott.
It does not fall sack. No, it does not. It does not. But when you're paying him that kind of money, you're paying him money that you pay Patrick Mahomes, who's already been an MVP a couple times and been to the Super Bowl a couple times. Sometimes you need your quarterback to carry you. And in 2019, when that team was struggling, he at no point did he say, guys, get on my shoulders. I'm going to carry us to the postseason. Instead, they lost in November and December when it was all on the line. Jason Garrett sucked, and I'm glad he's gone. But Dak, at some point, if you're going to be a guy that's going to cash in a $40 million paycheck, you have to do better than dragging the team across the finish line 8-8 or 7-9, whatever they were a couple years ago. You have to carry me to some win, baby. You got to carry me.
I'm gonna help you out with this because here's
they lost to the Jets that year.
I see where your anger is at.
The Jets.
No. Your anger is misplaced. You're angry at Dak Prescott and you think he does not have the ability to be a franchise quarterback. You're saying that you want to move from Dak Prescott, that he doesn't deserve a $40 million contract.
He does not.
Is that true?
He does not deserve that much. Now,
all right.
Is he good? He's above average. He's okay. He's good. He's not $40 million a year, break the bank, and have to restructure your team good. He's not Patrick Mahomes good, Russell Wilson good, Josh Allen good, Aaron Rodgers good. He's none of those guys. Deshaun Watson good. I mean, I can keep naming dudes. Eventually I'll get to him. But when I start naming salaries, I'm going to name him first. He's getting $126 million guaranteed.
Your anger is misplaced, and I'm going to tell you why.
Need some water, Scott. You got to get some water, man. You're on fire, baby.
Patrick Mahomes deserves his money. And you're going to know this is true because I said it. Look at my background. look at my shirt. Deshaun Watson is not a $40 million a year quarterback. He is good, mind you, but there's so much wrong with that Houston Texans franchise that, yes, he led the league in passing, but their team went 4-12. Have the Texans ever won a playoff game? No, they haven't. But guess what has happened
Okay, so they
now?
overpaid too. They overpaid too.
So here you go.
You're gonna be dumb joining the dumb.
I am misplaced. I'm trying to replace your anger. I'm trying to move your anger from somebody that deserves, I would say, 32 to 35 when it comes to Dak Prescott. But the Cowboys finally did something right, at least signing the guy, as opposed to franchise tagging him again. After basically franchise tagging him again is basically saying, you know what, you're not worth a long-term contract, even though you've taken the Cowboys better than what anybody else could have done. Dak Prescott is your franchise quarterback. Grow to accept it. You should.
I accept 8-8. I accept 8-8. They'll probably make the playoffs because the rest of the division has terrible quarterbacks.
Stability, yeah, right, exactly. But you just dealt with Tony Romo. You telling me right now that Dak Prescott is not better than Tony Romo? If you say so, I will. You know what? If you say so, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone anyway. But your anger is misplaced.
No, Dak Prescott is not better than Tony Romo. Tony Romo is definitely a more skilled quarterback. But again, they overpaid for Romo too because he wasn't winning playoff games. They just keep overpaying guys.
According to the great and the money man Scottie D, nobody deserves their paycheck at the Dallas Cowboys because guess what? They haven't won anything in the past 25 years.
Right, because that knucklehead general manager overpays for everybody, and he did it again tonight. Isn't there basketball or something on? My blood pressure is not going to survive much more of this podcast.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take this here train and put it back on the tracks. I love it, baby. This is episode number 99. The Bears being poked. Jug, 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 jab, jab, jab. All right, yeah, moving right along. We had UFC 259 this weekend, and we had a plethora of title fights. Yes, we did. We had Jan Blachowicz. I hope I didn't mess up the name if so.
Blachowicz.
Okay, Jan Blachowicz. He defeated Israel Adesanya in the 5th round by unanimous decision, and Blachowicz retains his title. Amanda Nunes, once again, she steamrolled over the competition as she defeats Megan Anderson in the 1st round, 2 minutes, 3 seconds to a submission. Nunes retains the title. Aljamain Sterling defeats Piotr Yan in the 4th round, 4 minutes and 29 seconds via disqualification, and Sterling is the new bantamweight champion. But it didn't come without controversy. It was a way that he didn't want to win it, but we'll get to that. But first, my question to you, the bros, is what's next for Amanda Nunes and the Style Bender? Be live. I'm going to start with you.
Well, when it comes to Amanda Nunes, I'm just going to be honest. There's nothing else for her. She's clear-cut, leaps and bounds better than any other female in combat sports, period. And this is going to sound crazy, and I already know it is what it is. I would almost pay money to see Nunes fight a guy in the same weight class. There's nothing else for her with the women. I'm sorry. She at this point in time,
handicap match.
Yeah,
2-on-1. But
yeah.
But it's something because she's unstoppable. And not only does she, first of all, Amanda Nunes already trains with guys in the fight camp that she has. So it's not far-fetched. But when it comes to the women's division, when it comes to mixed martial arts and UFC, she's accomplished it all. She will go down as the greatest female mixed martial arts fighter of all time, and it's not even close. So literally, let's test the waters, honestly, because that's exactly.
You can't.
I know. But I'm saying, I told you it's gonna be crazy. But that's exactly also what happened with the last style bender. Adesanya literally outclassed everybody in his division, his weight class, and it wasn't even close. So what does he do? You gonna let me finish a statement one day? I swear. You will have your turn.
All I did was groan. I didn't jump in.
You're grown in silence.
Episode 99, ladies and gentlemen. Episode
The great
99.
one.
The great
The great
one.
one.
The greatest.
So Adesanya bulked up to move up a weight class, and it was clear as day that the weight did not suit him whatsoever. Blachowicz had a game plan that he played out to perfection. He studied Adesanya for 2 and 3 rounds. He studied him, and he boxed with him. You could clearly see that Adesanya's movement was slower than what it normally is. Adesanya did have some stick and move, but it was clear as day that his movement was a little bit slower. And then the 4th to 5th round of that match, Blachowicz basically just outweighed him, put that weight on him, took him down, because everybody expected him to do the takedowns in the earlier rounds, but it almost messed with the head of Adesanya. And then the 4th and 5th rounds, he dominated in such a manner, I want to say, that the judges lost their mind and scored one of the two. Scored the 4th and 5th round 10-8, which is me and Scottie D talked about this before we recorded, that me and him both think that it was ridiculous to score any one of those rounds 10-8, but it was clear as day that they did. The fight was closer than what it was, but it was clear as day that Adesanya does not belong in the light heavyweight division. He's a middleweight, and he is one of the greatest of all time in the middleweight division.
I'll agree with.
Yeah, there's absolutely no setback when it comes to Adesanya because he lost his first match. Because it was just, there's certain things that are going to be outside of your realm, and that's just all it was. That does not take away from the fact that he is so dominant, but it also should play into the fact of how good John Blachowicz is. The guy fought a great fight, and there's a reason why he's the light heavyweight champion. And that's
because John Jones moved on.
But John Jones is an idiot. I'm gonna say that clear as day. That's a whole. But he is. I mean, he's a deserving champion, and hopefully
he's. I mean, he's no joke. He's not in there because he got lucky. They just give him the title. I mean, this dude knocks people out. He's the real deal. Adesanya was the betting favorite because of name. He really was, because this really probably wasn't so much of an upset. Because Adesanya actually, he didn't put on weight. He weighed 194 at the weigh-ins. They had to weigh 205. Blachowicz probably hydrated back up to 215, 220. So he probably outweighed him by 20 pounds. Adesanya went into this fight, I think, knowing that that he might not win this. And you could even tell, if you notice the way he walked out to the cage that night. He walked in very somber. We've seen him before do dance routines. I mean, he had like a whole choreographed dance routine a couple years ago before a fight. When they introduced him, he stood there with his arms locked. He didn't show any expression whenever Buffer says his name. And that's hard not to, because Buffer saying your name pumps you up. He stood there very somber. Gave a little look to the camera, kept his arms folded. He had a ton of respect for this guy. And that's why, he fought a little bit different. I don't think his movement was hindered. I just think that was the way the style of the fight was going, was to be careful, because the cage was smaller than, so he didn't have as much, room to move around. And it was a very technical fight. It wasn't a great fight. It was a very technical fight. It was a good fight, but neither guy was ever hurt. Neither guy was ever in trouble. The weight was a factor in the fourth and fifth round though, and because you could see actually, Jan Blachowicz was starting to gas a little bit, and brilliantly he chose those times to take him to the ground. And Adesanya, he said he didn't have it in his legs. He said, I had it in my lungs, but not my legs. And he just didn't have it in him to get out from under the guy. The way Adesanya handled the loss, though, to me, made me even be a bigger fan of his than I was in the first place, because he didn't make any excuses. He didn't act like he didn't cry and whine or anything. He flat said, I went for it. I came up short. This guy is a good fighter. I was honored to be in there with the guy. And now I'm going back to 185. And what's next for him is probably going to be Robert Whittaker. I know Darren Till and Marvin Vettori have a fight coming up. Maybe Till gets the next fight with him. But Robert Whittaker has won again, and I think he's in line. He actually said he wanted to take time off instead of the rematch, which I'm not sure how long that means. But there's no question Israel Adesanya is this. I don't think this is like a setback in his career. He's just gonna keep pounding out wins. But he just fought a really, really good guy who's bigger than him. Can he be a light heavyweight at some point? I think he can, but I think he didn't commit to it this time. He didn't commit to putting on muscle because he wants to stay down at middleweight. If he wants to move up, I think he'll change his body type. But at this point, I mean, being small like that, it's better for his speed and accuracy. He could end up moving up eventually, but right now I think middleweight's where it's at for him. He's not ready to be up there just yet. But I mean, he didn't look like he didn't belong. He just, I think he lost 3 rounds of 2, and the fifth round he was winning halfway through until he got taken down and controlled, and that's just the way it went.
Yep. You hang around in there and figure out where you stand, and hey, this won't be the last time we'll probably see him in that division. Also that night, as I mentioned earlier, Aljamain Sterling, he became the new bantamweight champion, but he won via disqualification. With that being said, fellas, another question I got for you: after the controversial loss, will there be a Sterling Jan 2?
Scottie D,
go first.
Yeah, immediately. Dana White already said that he's ready to sign that fight, and both those guys won it again. Sterling didn't even want the title. I don't know if you saw it, but after he put the belt around him, and he dropped it. He to his credit, he didn't act like, yeah, I'm glad I won this thing. He was like, this is not how I dreamt of becoming a champion. It was unfortunate. For those of you listening, if you're not sure what happened, but in the fourth round of a very good fight, he was on the ground and took a knee to the head, and you're not allowed to knee a person in the head when they are grounded. You're allowed to punch them, kick them, but you're not allowed to throw a knee to the head. And he did that. And it seemed pretty clear that Aljamain Sterling was concussed. He was gassing out, though. I mean, he came out in the first round, couple rounds, with a ton of volume. After 3 rounds, 2 judges had him down a round, 1 had him up a round. The fight was actually going Petr Yan's way. I think that's one of those things that you did and immediately regret it afterwards. Like sometimes you'll say something like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. I think that's kind of what happened with Yan. I don't think he was trying to be dirty. I don't think he was overly frustrated. I mean, it didn't make sense for him to deliberately do that and risk his title. But yeah, it was unfortunate because to me that was looking like that was going to shake out to be the best fight of the night.
Well, I have a difference of opinion. I think that the illegal knee, of course, but it was undisciplined. And I think it was out of frustration. If you were watching that fight, there was a lot of times that Sterling was on his back and he was kicking at his shins, kicking at Jan's shins multiple times, trying to, like, almost to the point where you could like hyperextend if you kick somebody in the leg that way. And a couple of those kicks did land, and I'm pretty sure that it hurt. And then it got to the point where, like, he kept trying to walk away, let him get back up, and Jan's holding him like he's literally waiting on this guy to make a move to get back up, like he's almost allowing him to get back up. And he still stayed grounded. And I honestly think it was frustration. And then once he did it, of course he regretted it. You can see like, oh. But then what made it more undisciplined was after it was all said and done and they were making the announcement of the official decision, Peter Yan raised his hand up like he won.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that.
Bro, you lost. LOS, he lost.
What? And another part that I'm very, very disappointed in, why in the entire world did it take that long to call that fight? I understand.
Late. It was long. I think if it wasn't a championship fight, they probably would have, pulled the plug on a little bit early. Yeah, I think so. I think because the referee was having to make a decision on a no contest and giving the guy laying on his back the belt. And he had to have known that dude didn't want to win it that way either. I mean, that's the worst situation you could have in a championship. So I think they were trying to exhaust every last option before actually calling the fight off. But it did drag out a little bit too long. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, like if he wasn't if he was a little less concussed, that he could stand back on his feet, he was still concussed, and you were about to put him in a position where he was definitely going to hurt himself more by giving him that much time. He was clearly out. There was no doubt, and it just felt like the referee. I'm not sure how long he's been doing it, but it just seemed like he was like an amateur. Like I feel
the same way after hearing about the Prescott contract. I feel like I'm concussed. Like I took a knee to the head that shouldn't have happened.
We are past that point, sir. Let it go. Look, you know what, Scottie D, I got a suggestion for you, because this would be a great opportunity for you, sir, to come back out with Scott's thoughts. This would be a perfect time, because you are taking up way too much time on this podcast because of your personal and fan beliefs, and I'm sick of it. We have moved on, sir. Eddy Cool, Amtrak this thing.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and Amtrak this thing all together right here. Yeah, Scottie D, you got to deal with Dak Prescott. That's it for that, and that's also it for UFC 259. Yes, All-Star Weekend was this weekend. A little quick recap. Giannis was the All-Star Game MVP. He didn't miss a single shot. Anthony Simons, he won the dunk contest. Steph Curry, of course, he won the three-point contest. And Domantas Sabonis wins the skills challenge. It was an all-star game. We really didn't watch it. Sorry. Yeah. But with that being said, we're going to move right along into college basketball, because guess what?
Woo!
It is March, and it's almost time for the madness that is March. All right, so over the weekend, Duke loses again. To UNC, 91-73 on Saturday. And guess what? Duke's not in the bubble. And Michigan State, they beat number 2, that's right, number 2, the University of Michigan Wolverines. Fellas, the question I asked, which team has the best chance to secure a bid to the big dance? B-Live, you were telling me earlier about the 4 in, 4 out, so I'm going to let you start first.
All right. There's the beautiful thing about college basketball is that there's over 300 Division I teams. And when it comes to a year like this, there's so many teams to track and try to figure out who's the 7th, 8th, 9th best team in the Big Ten, who's the 6th, 7th best team in the ACC. So I'm going to answer this in a completely different manner. Duke's not making it in. Kentucky's not making it in. Michigan State, I think they put their ticket in. I still think they need about one more win and at least one win in the Big Ten tournament. A lot of the other ones are still up in the air, but just the big takeaway is that Duke and Kentucky, they're going to be sitting at home. Kentucky's not even going to make it to the NIT. And just another side note, the NIT is now only 16 teams this year instead of 32.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Duke might not make the NIT either. It would behoove them probably to invite Duke just because of the namesake. but Kentucky definitely ain't making it, and Duke probably won't make the NIT. And that's about all I have.
Michigan State's very interesting because they're 15-11, and they're only 9-11 in their own conference. But that happens to be the toughest conference in basketball this year. And they're the only team in the country that has 3 wins over a top 5 team. No other team has more than 1. So, yeah, they might be able to. It's interesting, actually. They're playing Thursday against Maryland in the Big Ten tournament. If they win that game, they'll play Michigan again on Friday. So if they win those 2 games, I think that gets them to 17 wins. They'll be 17-11. That might be enough to do it. I mean, definitely I would say another win over Michigan would do it. But I think you're right. Boy, that's so hard because they're playing good lately. But I don't know. It remains to be seen for Michigan State. I think they need 2 more wins at least, because it would be one of those would be against Michigan.
I'll say I think they've done enough. 1 win against Maryland, they're in. But again, it's madness. I promise you, next week we're gonna talk about this ad nauseum, because the madness will be full on.
Selection Sunday.
Selection Sunday, absolutely.
I love it.
I can't wait. It is that time for the madness.
Well, fellas, good news, because you remember last year this time, that little ugly thing called coronavirus robbed us of March Madness. And March Madness last year was really shaping up to be good as well, too. But guess what else is shaping up to be good as well, too, fellas?
Ooh, what is that? What is it?
I'm glad you asked. It is our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices section of the show. And with that being said, hey, yo, Button, hit it.